Hey everyone, here at OSReviews.com. Today we're giving you our full video review of the Garmin-Asus Garminfone. This is actually a smartphone that's running Android. What's unique about this device, it's been created in collaboration between Asus, which makes those famous tablets and laptops, and Garmin, which makes those famous GPS devices. As a result, this phone is entirely based on GPS service. So although it runs on Android, the main feature and the main selling point here is simplicity in providing turn-by-turn directions on the road. All other features, you still have them. You have Android, you have Wi-Fi, access to the Android marketplace, you have Bluetooth. This is on contract with T-Mobile, so it's a GSM quad-band phone. But otherwise, what makes the GPS unique is that you can actually provide turn-by-turn directions without having a connection to cellular data. You might be saying, well, I can also provide turn-by-turn directions on my phone with Google Maps. A lot of phones has that feature, but unfortunately with Google Maps, the maps are actually on the cloud. What that means is that you have to have a connection to either 3G or via Wi-Fi in order to actually have constantly updating maps via Google Maps. And as a result, the turn-by-turn GPS direction actually uses cellular data. On this phone, there's an internal storage of 4 gigs that's dedicated to built-in maps that Garmin provides. So when you're actually using it on the road, no data is consumed. And additionally, it actually becomes a dedicated GPS unit, just like the one in your car. We think that's a pretty cool feature. So if you're used to Garmin products, you'll be right at home on this device. In terms of hardware, it looks like a pretty generic phone, but it is sleek and it is a slate form factor. On the front here, we have access to a 3.5-inch capacitive multi-touch enabled touchscreen, which is responsive. Unfortunately, the device is very much of a fingerprint smudge magnet because of its black glossy plastics, and you will see that it smudges very easily. So you do have to make sure you have a cleaning cloth ready when you are using this phone. On top of the T-Mobile logo, you'll find a year piece, and below the screen itself, you have the Garmin logo, followed by a traditional 5-way D-pad. This is actually not an optical mouse, contrary to what I first thought it was. And when the device is turned on, you'll find 4 backlit keys that are capacitive as well. They correspond to the back, to the phone, and the menu, and the home button. Now, these buttons also have haptic feedback, so when you press them, they actually vibrate. Unfortunately, the placement is kind of close together to the D-pad, so when you're actually using the D-pad, your hand might accidentally hit the side here, and as a result, it's a little easy to press a home or menu when you're using D-pad here. On the left-hand side of the device, you have access to only the dock connection. This allows you to dock it into this windshield car mount, which allows you to put on your car and use this as a real GPS unit. It's pretty cool because this is actually a smart dock connection. Once you plug it in, the device automatically orientates itself to this horizontal view, and once we launch the GPS navigation in this orientation, it actually provides, turns on the GPS features as you might expect from a Garmin GPS unit. On the bottom of the device, you have access to a mini USB 2.0 connection port. This is not a micro USB, so be sure that you know the difference there. And on top of the device, you have an easy-to-press on-off key that's tactile and it's nicely centered, so you'll be able to find this in even extreme conditions. On the back of the device, you'll find a 3.0 megapixel autofocus camera that takes pretty decent shots and camcorder and video shots. And you also have this brushed metal finish that looks pretty nice, followed by a soft touch material that makes this device fit comfortably on the hand. On the right-hand side of the device, you'll find access to a volume rocker, and it's actually one piece. It might look like 2 separate buttons, but these are actually connected in the middle. What that means is that when you press down one of the keys, the other one also kind of wants to press down, so it's a little bit stiff to press if I'm going to be honest. Also on here, we have a 2-stage camera shutter key, which allows you to take pictures. And that's pretty much it. So if you've been following suit, you'll notice that this device lacks a 3.5mm headphone jack. In fact, it lacks any type of audio jack at all. What this means is that you have to use either an external adapter or you have to use the built-in Bluetooth feature to connect to a Bluetooth headset. It's not that big of a deal, but if you have a favorite pair of wired headphones, you can't use it on this device as easily. So a little bit disappointed in that regard. Turning on the device, you'll find that you need to double tap to unlock. Pretty generic there. I'm already in the navigational app, and let's just take a look at that first, but let's go home. And you'll see the interface here is entirely different from what you might expect from Android. As a result, things are does require a little bit more of a learning curve if you already experienced Android, but for the most part, this device is definitely aimed at people who are road warriors and who want to travel a lot, and also people who want to look for a simplistic smartphone that doesn't try to do too much, I guess, because it offers a very low level of customization because they've stripped away what was traditionally special of Android. But with that said, you actually do have the movable widgets and home screens under this little tab that's called widgets. It's actually a separate application-like thing which you can press, and as a result launch this application that brings you to a more traditional view of Android. But unfortunately, you can see that there's no live home screens, which is a pretty neat feature that we liked. Additionally, you'll find that you can only add app widgets here. There's no applications that you can add on here, so I can't put in applications that I enjoy here. It's only widgets that I can drag around. It's also a pretty limited view because if we want to access any other feature, we have to get out of this widget view in order to access the app drawer. So other than that, long pressing the home button also brings up this little widget screen, but we can exit out of that by pressing home once again. And you'll see that the main screen is dedicated by a call, where to, and view map functions. The call is pretty basic. It's what you expect. There's a call dialer by a T9 style keypad. There's also a contacts list and a favorites list for you to call people and use the speakerphone feature or use Bluetooth or just use the phone itself. The next one, where to, brings up the traditional Garmin feature, which allows you to connect to points of interest or home or address, and this allows you to access the GPS feature. If you use the Garmin GPS device in the past, you'll be right at home on this device because it's easy to use. It basically uses the same interface as you see on the Garmin devices, and this entire interface also rotates so that you can use it in this view as well. Of course, this being a capacitive touchscreen means that navigation is really without a hiccup. It's really easy to press and things are really responsive. There's 16 million points of interest in Canada and the United States, so that allows us to find easily a lot of stuff on the maps that Garmin has built in, and we don't need to connect to the internet to access that GPS navigation service. There's transportation, so let's just say we wanted to find a transportation near us. It automatically searches up the nearest stuff that's near your location currently. You can also search by voice and search by the QWERTY keyboard. So let's just say we found one, and I'm going to press that down here. Pressing that will automatically route you to that location on the map. And you can also see your GPS signal strength at the top here. It's this green little thing, and if it's really green, it means that you are in full signal strength. But if it's red or yellow, it means that you are in a weak area. So this is your GPS signals on the looks like a little antenna bug. On the side, you'll see your Wi-Fi signal strength. That's your SIM card signal strength, and this is your phone signal strength. That's your battery indication. There's an LED indicator on the top there, and that's your time. That's pretty much it. On the left here, we have an indication for a micro SD card slot, which you can access behind the battery cover. You have 4 gigs of storage internally built in, but you can expand that by another 32 gigabytes. So it's a great memory. And on the side, this little light bulb here is just a widget that I installed by a third-party application. So there again, I've routed to this location I've selected, and you'll see it automatically goes to this map, and if I press go, it will automatically route me from my current location to this place. You can see that this device will basically rotate when you're using it in the car, and it's basically the same experience as you have with a dedicated GPS unit. The maps can also be zoomed in and out by using multi-touch and pinch to zoom gestures. It's very easy to use. You can also use street view, aerial view, and there's also a lifetime map update service that you get by purchasing this phone. In addition, you also have live traffic updates and also other crazy features that you can access in the settings. So let's go home once again and check out some of the other applications. On the right hand side, we have a bar of our recently used and just basically our favorite applications. You can customize this to your liking. You have your contacts. I have my email, my browser, my widgets screen of a calendar and a weather and a camera app all built in here. To access the full screen, basically drag this entire side to the left, and that accesses our full list of applications. So it's kind of neat that you have this. You also have access to the full marketplace by Google, so you can download your favorite applications here. So you don't have to be limited by the ones that comes preloaded with this device. It's pretty nice. So there you go. It will load and show your favorite games and content. There is Angry Birds on here. It does work very well, so that's a nice feature there. Other features include a gallery that supports pinch to zoom. This has been slightly modified, I should say, by Garmin, which means that you can't actually slide across and actually view your images. You have to use a tap method, which is a little bit tedious and a little bit annoying, I have to say. I'm very used to just dragging through the different images. I thought that could made it been easier for the user by accessing that feature, but you have to use buttons on the top. At the very least, you have access to pinch to zoom. It works pretty well. It's very smooth and responsive. You can also rotate your images to view them in different orientations. That works pretty well. Pretty standard gallery, and you also have your music and your videos. Videos are played back, and they're pretty nice on this device. It isn't an HD display by any stretch, but still the screen is fairly bright and vibrant and large for most people to view their favorite clips on the go. There's something called Garmin Voice Studio on this device, which allows you to record your own voice for your turn-by-turn voice-guided direction service. So if I don't like the woman or the man who speaks my directions in the car, I can actually have a friend or a family member record their voice for the turn-by-turn directions, and I'll be listening to them speak when I'm driving in my car. It's a pretty unique feature, and I like it. You also have a traffic search, a document viewer to view Word and Excel and PowerPoint documents. There's a Gmail service on here, as you might expect, Amazon MP3 player. You also have Google Maps, which actually uses the location service. It actually uses data service, so it's not something that's entirely free, I guess, unless you use Wi-Fi. But you do have Google Maps in case the Garmin Maps aren't working. You have Google Talk. We have a calculator on here, and offers, a converter, a Facebook app, and these are my download apps. There's also a dedicated YouTube app which you can search up, and it will bring you to your YouTube homepage of your most viewed stuff. It's pretty condensed, but it is easy to navigate. It's very responsive and easy to use. So let's just say I want to watch this video. We'll see how well it loads. We're using Wi-Fi right now, so speed's pretty good. You'll see the volume is pretty loud because the speaker has been optimized for navigation, which has to be pretty loud in general, but I can even turn that up even more. So you can see that it gets pretty loud in general. Let's exit out of that and go home. So that's pretty much it in terms of features. Of course, you can download a lot more different services and applications through the Android marketplace, but that's all the apps that you basically get preloaded out of the box. Now, you might not even be able to see what version of Android this is running on because of this customized UI, but it is 2.1 declared, so under settings, you might be able to see that, but it's, again, customized by Garmin to make it kind of hard to see. You can see System, Wireless Manager to turn on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, VPN services, and such. Your applications, your display, your sync, your phone. You can press System to see your location, but yeah, this device has been entirely customized by Garmin to make it easy to use for first-time smartphone owners. But the last feature, I guess, to check out really is going to be its camera and the web browser, the last two features. If I press the web browser, the device automatically will load up the current web page that I'm on, which is Google. And you'll see that the web browser, again, has been modified by Garmin, which I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of because the original Android web browser has been really nice. But this is still responsive. It's still nice and easy to use. But unfortunately, font does not reflow itself. You do have multi-touch on here and pinch to zoom. It's very smooth and easy to use. But actually, there's no double tapping, which is actually a feature that I don't miss too much. But still, if I'm reading a column in on the New York Times, unfortunately, when I double tap, or when I double tap, usually on the phones, the font zooms in, and actually the font actually gets narrowed down so that it fits just right on my phone display. But when I use pinch to zoom, the actual text doesn't reflow itself to match. So for example, if I zoom in, you'll see that I have to use a lot of left and right scrolling just to get everything on here because not all text is optimized for the size of the screen anymore. But let's try loading up a more complex web page and see how it looks like. So, let's see New York Times, NewYorkTimes.com. It might load the mobile view first. Yes, it will. Let's try loading the more complex view after it finishes loading. You'll see that speeds are pretty reasonable. This doesn't have a 1 GHz processor. It actually has a slower, under 800 MHz processor. So it's, again, not that fast, but it is responsive again. So for what it does, it is a good smartphone, I guess, for basic web browsing. And it doesn't look like I can actually go to, oh, here we go, full New York Times website. You can see the accelerometer works fairly fast, it's fairly fluid, and again, over Wi-Fi, speeds are pretty reasonable. Now, I'd say about call quality is also pretty good. There's a slight amounts of static when we're using the speakerphone. It gets a little bit tinny, but for the most part, reception is also one of the strongest parts of this device. It's fairly easy to get a signal here, at least in Washington State. And battery life is another point of this phone that actually is surprisingly good. In this day and age, smartphones typically don't last over a day. Now with this device, which has a pretty moderate screen and nice set of features with GPS and all these Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you might expect this phone to run out of battery within 24 hours, but that's where you're going to be wrong. This phone actually lasted me for around 4 to 5 days before I had to get another full charge, with each day using it moderately. So the battery life is one of the strongest suits for this smartphone in particular. If you're looking for a phone that's going to last you for a long time, this might be the one to get. So there you go. New York Times, the full page is going to load. There's not a lot of flash content going on because you have to use, again, the YouTube dedicated player just to play YouTube videos. But you do have that option. And you'll see that the text isn't exactly optimized for the screen size. As we zoom in, you'll see that the text doesn't reflow, which means I have to go left and right just to finish my text. So it's a little bit annoying sometimes. You know, you can see that not all the text actually finishes on the page. It's more apparent in longer articles where the text actually goes through the screen like this. If we zoom in and see what happens. Yeah, we have to go left and right just to finish reading our article. So that gets a little tedious, no double tapping. So still, it's a pretty capable browser. It has a fast and fluid response, and multi-touch is very nice and easy to use, and it's fairly quick. It's just, I wish that there was a better optimization for the screen size. Let's readjust the browser. Let's take a look at the camera, and that's going to be the last feature. The camera is a 3.0 megapixel camera. In today's standards, that isn't a huge megapixel count. But surprisingly, the device does the whole autofocus feature justice. It focuses on content really well, and surprisingly, it actually takes decent photos. So if we had something like a bottle of water here, I wanted to take that photo really close up. Pressing it once, it's going to zoom in, and then it's going to take that image. You'll see that images are pretty much focused in, and there's a surprisingly large amount of detail for this phone considering its megapixel count. So overall, the photo quality is decent as well. So that's pretty much it. That's our review and first look at the Garmin-Asus Garminfone for T-Mobile service. It's much improved over the original Garmin Nuvi phone, which was on contract with AT&T. This makes this device probably one of the best Android-based GPS phones on the market currently you can buy, even in today's standards. So I can't stress enough, if you really want that GPS feature and you don't want to pay an additional, say, $80 to download maps online or in the App Store, because you can't do that with an iPhone per se, this device is the best out-of-the-box GPS experience that you can probably find out there in the market today. So thanks for watching this video review of the Garmin-Asus Garminfone here at OSReviews.com.